So again, the question, how did these philosophies, Confucianism and Taoism, become organized institutional religions? We're going to get into that, but first, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the three teachings of China. Now, this is a painting that it is a drawing based on a story, and this painting gets done a lot throughout the years in China. So take a look at this painting. This is three men, and they're standing around a vat of vinegar. Now, who in the world felt led to get that much vinegar together in one vat? I don't know why someone did that, but the point is, standing around that vat of vinegar, you have Confucius, he's the one with the hat on the right, Buddha, he's the largest one there in the middle, and Lao Tzu, the old baby, the old master. He's known as the founder of Taoism. Now, the story goes that as those three men stand there, and obviously this is a parable, this can't be historical because these guys didn't live at the same time, but as they're standing there around this vat of vinegar, Confucius puts his finger in. Did I mention this is called the Vinegar Tasters? The story and the painting, and again, the painting is done over and over and over. It's called the Vinegar Tasters. And so Confucius puts his finger in, and he tastes the vinegar, and he says, sour. And this is to symbolize that for Confucius and Confucianism, life is sour. And so that's why you got to have all these rules. That's why you got to have the ren and the li, the propriety, the rituals, the education, because life is sour and you got to fix it. And then as the story goes, Buddha puts his finger in the vinegar and he tastes it. And he goes, bitter, bitter, this is bitter. And of course, for Buddha and for Buddhism, life is bitter. You know the first noble truth. All life is what? Suffering. And so Buddhism is about how do you deal with the bitterness, the suffering of life. What Buddha's goal was to find a way for suffering to cease, a way to escape or extinguish, that's the original meaning of nirvana, to extinguish suffering. Now, the story continues and says that Lao Tzu, he's the one on the left with the long gray beard, Lao Tzu sticks his finger in and he tastes the vinegar. And he smiles. Because for Taoism, life is sweet. But you have to understand the reason he was able to perceive sweetness is because for Lao Tzu, the vinegar was exactly as the vinegar should be. The vinegar tastes according to its nature. And that's what Taoism is about. Taoism is about living with things according to their nature. And when you live in harmony with the Tao, when you live in harmony with nature, life is sweet. Now, sometimes on this painting, when you'll see it's painted or drawn, there will also appear the words, the teachings of China are one. Sometimes it's said that that's the meaning of the vinegar vat. They're all tasting the same vinegar, but they're getting different things out of it and responding to it in different ways. But in the end, it's all one. I kind of like this cartoon that comes out of a newspaper. This modernizes the story of the Vinegar Tasters a little bit. On the left, again, you have Confucius. They've switched it in this picture, but Confucius, he's always the one with the hat. That's a scholar's cap. And he says, the vinegar is sour. We must teach the correct recipe in order to make proper pickles. So in other words, Confucianism is about the right recipe. It's doing things properly. And then Buddha tastes the pickle juice and says, the vinegar is bitter. Only by not desiring a pickle can one eliminate the bitterness. Now that's actually, these are not bad, quick quick condensations of the main teachings of these religions. Yeah, Buddha said all life is suffering, but suffering can cease. Suffering is caused, the second noble truth, suffering is caused by desire. Suffering can cease, the third noble truth, when we extinguish desire. So, yeah, the idea of this cartoon saying only by not desiring a pickle can one eliminate the bitterness. And then finally, Lao Tzu is the one on the right in this picture. And he says, it's all good. Sure, the vinegar is both sour and bitter, but this is the way nature intends pickles to taste. So, once again, sort of a quick condensation of those religions, but also kind of an understanding on the part of many Chinese people that they're all three true. They're all three bringing something that is needed. The jar of vinegar is the same. By the way, I like this one about pickles because I'll tell you something interesting. As I told you at the beginning of the semester, I'm a long distance cyclist. I like to ride my bicycle in organized rides that go a long way. My favorite one is a ride across the state of North Carolina. And one of the things they do at these organized rides is at the rest stops, they put out pickles for us cyclists to eat and drink the juice. Why? Because that prevents cramping of the legs. And so Lao Tzu, like Lao Tzu, we taste the pickle juice and whatever it tastes like, we still smile because it means our legs are going to stop cramping and we can keep riding. Let me share with you some popular Chinese sayings, again, about the three teachings. It is often said, every Chinese has a Confucian cap, a Taoist robe, and Buddhist sandals. It's often said, Chinese are Confucians at work, Taoists at leisure, and Buddhists at death. Now think about those three. Why would you want to be a Confucian at work? Because that's where you need to be finding your place in society. That's where you need to be having the proper relationships within the 5 primary relationships. That's where you need to be following the rules. That's where you need to be educating yourself and developing skills. Why would you want to be a Taoist at leisure? Well, see, leisure, that's when you want to hang out. That's when you want to be at harmony with nature. That's when you want to experience the balance. And then Buddhist at death. Why would you want to be a Buddhist at death? Well, because, of these three, Buddhism is the one that sort of has the most to say about what's going to come after in the next life, especially Buddhism as it's practiced in China, because there it's Mahayana Buddhism, and that has more to say about what happens after death. An interview with a fellow from Taiwan, first name Jason. Last name, I'll let you read it there because I don't want to try to say it. But in this interview, this man says, as a respectful son and an upright citizen, I embrace Confucian values. They teach me to put family and society ahead of myself and to value education as the most important undertaking to improve myself. In my views on how my body works, how my health can be maintained, how different ingredients should be used to achieve balance in my food, and how I can relate to the spirits in the invisible world, I follow the Taoist teaching. And Buddhism gives me hope for a good afterlife. Together, they make me a complete person. And he goes on to say, these teachings are generally not jealous of one another. They do not demand total exclusive devotion. They provide meaning to different aspects of our lives. There is religious pluralism for most Chinese. Very interesting mindset, a bit different from many of the people who follow the Western religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, those religions tend to be, on the whole, generally speaking, more concerned with right doctrine, more devoted to the idea that there's only one God, only one way to worship God, follow God, get to God, whatever. But apparently in the Eastern mindset, there's just a lot more room for kind of a pluralistic view, where the teachings you don't necessarily have to pick one and say this one's right and the other's wrong. So interesting mindset there. Now, I'm going to stop, and when I begin the next lecture, we'll talk about how Confucianism became an organized religion. I'll be right back.